Hello guys, and welcome back on the Fantasy Edge. It's been so long since I've posted a video, and so I thought, why not make another one? Here's how I paint the Young Mage from Reaper Miniatures. I hope you will enjoy this painting tutorial, and we see each other after the intro. So, first things first, put the coffee out of the way. Second, get a stick like this, just a simple piece of wood. This time I tried out something new. I just took a little blue tack, I think it's called in English, and I glued it to the wood into small balls. In this way you can easily attach all kinds of things to the wood and then release them very easily. Normally I use double-sided tape for this, but I was just too lazy for that at that moment. And lazy is also a good keyword, because I will paint the Young Magician or the Young Mage almost exclusively with the Army Painter Speedpaints 2.0. For me, these colors make my work much easier. Not only do you get respectable results in the end, it's just fun to paint with these colors. Of course, the next step is to go outside into the fresh air to prime our miniatures. I also use the Army Painter spray cans here. For me, they have always delivered a good end result so far. Make sure to shake them well. At the beginning, first spray 2 or 3 sprays into the void to prevent any deposits from landing directly on your miniatures. Then I walk over the figures with a flowing movement. I rotate the wood in any direction so that I really hit every corner of the figure. If you want to be much smarter than me, it's best to wear disposable gloves so as not to spray your fingers. It's also a good idea to spray only one row of miniatures at a time when priming, so you can spray paint from all angles. Too many miniatures lined up too closely together will make your work more difficult. I've gotten into the habit of having small boxes in which I store my related projects a little bit, so that I always have everything ready later. As we can see here again, the figure got good color everywhere. In the beginning I always take a quick look at my figure and think about which colors I want to use where. For me, the best way to have a firm grip on my figures are these painting handles. This one in particular is from Citadel, but there are plenty of other manufacturers who offer similar products. It helps me a little bit to keep my hands and thus my figure steady. Another true ingenious tool in my toolbox is this children's toy / ADHD thing. The ingenious thing about it is that I can use the individual coolers as a palette. As soon as the paint has dried up, I can remove it without any problems, because the rubber causes the acrylic paints not to stick to the material. It is therefore recyclable and is ideal for example speed paints. And that's what I just like about the hobby. There are always new things that are misused for the hobby and make your life easier. And now let's get to the painting itself. After a black primer, I now want to dry brush my figure with white paint. We will paint the magician with this so-called slap chop method. The white color is automatically intended to distinguish the raised parts of the miniature. If we then go over these areas with speed paint, the color is stronger in these places, whereas the darker areas remain correspondingly darker. When painting, we aim directly for a feeling of depth and shadow. A makeup brush is very suitable for dry brushing the figure. Put a bit of paint on your brush and then wipe off as much of it as possible on a paper towel. Depending on the intended use, it is advisable to have little paint on the brush. Here at the slap chop method, it's okay if you have a little more white here and there. This only causes the color to be more brilliant there. Sometimes this is even desirable, more on that later. When dry brushing, I always go along the figure from top to bottom. It's as if the natural light is coming down on the figure. Everything that hides the light remains correspondingly darker. Once you're happy with the look of your figure, you can move on to the next step, the actual painting of the figure. As the first color, I'm using Crusader skin. As I said before, sometimes it is even desirable for the figure to be lighter in some places. Crusader skin is supposed to be a skin color, but it covers quite weakly with the slap chop method. However, if the face had been completely white before, the color would have been much more apparent. Here I had to improve later with conventional paints, but that doesn't matter. In any case, I see speed paints more as an additional support than they are meant to do the work for me for every occasion. The bottom line, however, is that your painting is greatly accelerated by the colors, just as the name suggests. The name says it all, speed paints. The next color is hardened leather. I used it to paint the magician's cloak. In the further course, also his belt and parts of his staff. Next up is Satchel Brown. I used the color to paint the gloves and also the boots of the magician. I used ruddy fur for his hair and his staff. Desolate brown for backpacks and parts of his staff. Pallet bone for small bags that the magician carries on him. Resin copper for small details, such as the end of his scabbard and the crossguard, as well as the small bell and the decorations on his staff and on his spellbook. With brownish decay, I paint the scabbard and his book. I then chose a very fine brush with which I can paint small details. I only paint his gemstone completely white here, because it should shine brightly later. You'll see how I do it in a moment. With polished silver, I paint over the setting on the neck of the rod as well as the gemstone. I let the paint dry a bit before I continue. In the meantime, I take care of the magician's non-existent skin color and go to work with Vallejo basic skin tone. With the technical color Soulstone Blue from Citadel, I then create the visual effect of a gemstone. I simply paint this over the previously primed gemstone to achieve the effect. To make the base color of the skin look a little more natural, I go over the face again with a wash. The diluted paint then settles into the recesses of the face, creating a more natural look. And last but not least, where I pee my pants the most, it goes to the eyes of the figure. I try to draw a small narrow horizontal stripe in the eyes. This is followed by a vertical coat of white. In most cases you mess up your figure with it, and honestly, it's not always necessary to paint a character's eye. Because at normal playing distance, such details can usually no longer be seen anyway. Everyone has to decide for themselves. And with that, the young magician is complete. This magician is my main character in my story of monsters and kings. His name is Garadon. You can find this audiobook here on YouTube, but so far only exclusively in German language. However, an English version of the story is definitely planned. I'll come up with something nice. For all those who speak German, you can find the link to my story here. I hope you had fun and learned something. I would be very happy about a subscription as well as comments and likes. Until next time, sports fans, yours, Lars, from the Fantasy Edge.